Hi, it's Mio Marufo here at the California Indian Museum and Culture Center, and I'm here in the Food Sovereignty exhibit. I wanted to talk with you a little bit today about the Lake County region. So Lake County, for Pomos, there are about 26 Pomo tribes within California, Central California, and they go across the lake, the valley, and the coast. In Lake County, there are 7 different tribes. There are 6 Pomo and 1 Lake Miwok. However, there were other tribes that came to Lake County also. The reason why there was such a diversity of tribes that came to Lake County was because of the large amount of food sources that were there, or is there rather. Clear Lake is the name of the lake in Lake County. Clear Lake is the largest body of fresh water fully within the state of California. Its average depth is about 28 feet, which makes it a eutrophic lake. That means that it's a very nutrient-rich lake. So when you have a lot of nutrients in a lake, what happens is you get a lot of different types of life. You get a lot of bird life and you get a lot of fish. We have a fish in Lake County, it's called the hitch, and it is an indigenous fish to Lake County only. Many people have seen salmon spawn runs, and they've seen other fish that are grouped together like surffish. Lake County has their own spawning fish. The hitch actually used to go up the streamways from the lake during spawning season by the thousands. Back in 1920, you could still walk across the fish in the streams. The streams would be so gutted with the fish trying to reach the marshlands that the rains created to spawn. Nowadays, you can find the fish, but they only go up the streams by the hundreds and by the tens, unfortunately. The hitch were actually main staple food of the Lake County Indians. For those tribes that were closer to the water, the hitch were gathered, dried, and eaten. So not only were we acorn people, but in Lake County, of course, we were fish people, and we ate birds. There's a lot of different birds because of, like I said, the nature of the lake being eutrophic. There's a lot of different bird life also. The Lake County Indians are also known for their feather baskets because of the bird life there. There's one in the exhibit here today, and we used a lot of mallard, we used meadowlark, we used woodpeckers and red-winged blackbirds, to name just a few of the birds that we used. So not only were the natives, the Indian Pomos, gathering directly from the lake their foods, animals, but they were also gathering the plant materials, and they were gathering plants to eat also. So we have tule here, which is something that we weave with and also make the houses with in Lake County. But what you don't see is the bottom part of tule is actually a root, and it forms a big root ball, but you can eat the root of the tule. And the other thing that's not in here are cattails. You see a lot of cattails that are along the edges of the lake. So you see these fluffy brown tips. Well, when they're like this, you can make pillows out of it. You can use them as like down. But when they're green still, you can steam them and eat them. And they actually taste like a cross between asparagus and artichoke. They're really actually delicious. But these, when they're green, can be eaten. And when they're you can also make a flour with them, flour, out of this also to eat in breads. So not only does the lake provide meat, it provides plants, vegetables, vegetables that are not as common as you would go into Safeway and buy. Nowadays you go buy russet potatoes. In Lake County, you would be eating something called an Indian potato, and it's a singular flower that has cromms, but it's little tiny little tiny potatoes on the end of them. But the closest thing that would taste like an Indian potato is a Russian fingerling potato. My friends at Ohlone Cafe actually went through and tasted all the potatoes of the world and to get the closest to what an Indian potato tastes like. And that would be a Russian fingerling potato. The different meats of Lake County, deer, elk, bird life, the quails, the ducks, and there's many other species. But around the exhibit, there are charts that show some of the different food lives in each region. So this one is the Lake County chart, and it shows acorns and buckeyes. It shows different types of berries. It shows miner's lettuce. It shows manzanita berries. There's cattails. There's the Indian potato. There's mushrooms, different types of fish, different types of birds, and large animals. Hi, it's Mio Marufo again. I'm here at the California Indian Museum and Culture Center in the Food Sovereignty exhibit. And now we are standing in the Valley Pomo. So the Valley Pomo is about 13 different tribes, and they consist in the Ukiah Valley all the way down to the Anderson Valley. Okay, so this is more of the Sonoma Valley, going down to the Sonoma Valley, and you come all the way up to the Mendocino Valley. But those pomos are still considered Valley Pomo. The main staple of the Valley Pomo Indians was acorn. However, because of the Russian River, they ate a lot of salmon also. There are some tribes that are actually more fish predominant than others. However, because of impacted waterways and impacted water usage, some of those tribes have become acorn people that used to be fish people. It's something that we're working on as environmental people here in California, as cultural preserves. We're trying to bring those fish back so that they can once again be the salmon people that they were. I wanted to highlight some of the charts, and we went over the Lake County chart, but I wanted you to take a look at this valley chart. So in the Food Sovereignty exhibit, there's different charts that show you some of the different types of foods that were here. And they're just a few of the hundreds of different types of foods that were located in the valley. But the majority of those would be the acorn, the pepper nuts from the bay laurel, California bay laurel. There are figs. The Black Mission fig actually comes all the way up here and is quite prolific. There's berries. One of the berries is the manzanita berry. So this is the manzanita berry. So these berries are actually dried and then they are crushed. And it actually makes, it's sugar. So it's Indian Kool-Aid, as it's often called, but it creates a really sweet kind of tart drink, and it is loaded with vitamin C too. But it is one of the very sweet things that occurs naturally in our environment. So as you come through the exhibit, you're going to see a lot of different types of foods highlighted, and the basketries and tools that were used to process these foods. We could talk a little bit about acorn, but I'd rather you come through the exhibit when it's open again and see the true extent of acorn. So when we're talking about acorns, we want to talk and show you around the exhibit the full nature of processing the acorns. When you're able to come to the exhibit once we're open again, you'll see leaching stations. You'll see how much acorn it takes to make a bowl full of acorn mush. These are the shells from the acorn, and this is a grinding rock, pounding rock. This is acorn mush, acorn bread solid. And then there are historical pictures that show you the processing, because acorn is a staple food in almost all of California, actually. Hi, it's Mio again here at the California Indian Museum and Culture Center, and I'm in the food sovereignty exhibit. And what I wanted to talk with you about now is we are in the Coast Pomo region. So when you think of the Coast Pomo, oftentimes you'll think that it's very different from the other pomos, the Valley Pomo and the Lake Pomo. Yes, it is. We are regionally tied together under one anthropological term called Pomo, but we are all very separate people. Along the coast, there are about 6 coastal tribes, Coast Pomo tribes. Depending on how you break them up, 3 to 6. The Coast Pomo have a wide amount of food, given the fact that they're right on the ocean, but they're not just right on the ocean. They also go into the woodlands that are in further, and to the meadowlands that are in a little bit past that. So once you go over the first ridge line, that's where the Coast Pomo kind of end. And within those regions are not only the ocean, but you have a little bit of forest and you have meadows. And so acorn is still abundant. Each of the different regions like different types of acorn. In the coast region and in the valley region, they like tan oak. Tan oak is more prolific. It gives more nuts, in other words. And oftentimes people say it tastes better. When you come over to Lake County, it's blue oaks, tan oaks, and black oaks, but blue oaks mostly because that's where it's grown. So when you go to the coast, acorn does feature heavily in their diet. However, if we look at the chart, and once again, these charts are around the different regions of valley, coast, and lake to show you the types of foods that were eaten. This is not only types of foods, but just a picture of what some of the foods were eaten. So you have your acorns, you have your hazelnuts, fresh hazelnuts. You have many different types of berries that grow in Coast Pomo area, as well as mushrooms. There's 2 types of mushrooms featured here, but there are many types of mushrooms that the Coast Pomo ate. Do not go mushroom foraging unless you know what you're doing. You also have seaweeds. So once we come down from the woodlands, once we come down from the meadows, we're going to go into a lot more of the ocean life. There's seaweeds and kelps. There's crabs, abalone. When we think of Coast Pomo, what usually comes up is seaweed and abalone. And yes, they ate seaweed and abalone, but our people within the Pomo region are more than just 2 types of food. We're more than acorn in the valley. We're more than birds in the lake. They're more than seaweed and abalone. In fact, given how hard it is to get abalone, you're actually looking more along the lines of the periwinkles and the barnacles and the limpets and the fish that were easier to gather than the abalone. Abalone have since gone through a time where they've needed to be protected because of the overharvesting. The overharvesting that's not done by natives. The overharvesting that's done by non-natives that are coming to the region and getting too many. But even before the harvesting, the abalone were not the main staple diet of the people in the coast. The shells were used, but the abalone itself doesn't provide a huge amount of meat. So what would happen is that you're going to be fishing. The Coast Pomo have developed fish hooks, they've developed fishing techniques, net gathering techniques, and foraging along the rocks, rock picking. You're also going to start going into hunting. Sea life, you're going to do seals, you're going to do otters, you're going to do all those pretty little creatures that you see swimming around are eaten. They're large bodies of protein. And there's also eggs, not just quail eggs, but the sea wren eggs, seagull eggs. Those eggs can be collected along the rocks. And then you're going back up into the hills where you have your deer, you have elk, and you have more bird life to collect also. So not only are you getting berries up in the hills, you're getting large protein animals too.